got to smear reform, and Nigel Farage has seriously got out of control. We have got a deputy prime minister coming out and lying about Nigel Farage to the point it doesn't make any sense. He's came out on BBC and said that Nigel Farage was flirted with the Hitler Youth. Although the only problem, there is a small problem, Farage was born in 1964 and the Hitler Youth was disbanded back in 1945. This is for the Deputy Prime Minister, and he is spreading lies and misinformation to the general public. And we're talking about an establishment, by the way, that are going around on social media trying to take away misinformation from sites, or forcing social media sites to do that. Now they're going out and branding Nigel Farage as racist, their policies as racist, their supporters as racist, and now you've got the Deputy Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, David Lammy. I know he's thick as mince, but there is no excuse. Now essentially saying that he flirted with Nazism and Adolf Hitler. This is absolutely abhorrent. This is absolutely disgusting. And of course, this is a new low for Labour. We're going to watch the video. We're going to watch the moment it happened. You're also going to see a bit of reaction, but you're also going to see the big man being sent back out there and basically backtracking on his initial comment. We're going to go over to X because the whole place is exploding with David Lammy's comments. People are not happy, and you can probably come up as to why, but this is getting out of control from the Labour Party. As always, guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's have a watch of this mess from David Lammy.
Is Nigel Farage a racist?
I answered your question. I'm not going to play the man. I'm playing the ball as our leader did. I will leave it for the public to come to their own judgments about someone who once flirted with Hitler Youth when he was younger. That is for the public, but we will be...
Kevin, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company, as always. Kevin, you wrote a piece earlier this week saying that Keir Starmer wasn't calling Reform UK voters racist when he said that the policy was racist. I'm afraid I think that ship has sailed now. I think the conversation has really, really moved on. I want you to condemn what's going on here. I want you to say, how can we be talking about Adolf Hitler? How can we be talking about snake oil salesmen? How can we be talking about threats of political violence and the safety of activists on doorsteps in 2025 in British politics?
Yeah, I mean, I think snake oil salesmen, that's fine. I mean, that's just a part of the knockabout of politics. But I've just posted on X, actually. Once you start mentioning Hitler or the Nazis, then you're in a bit of bother, I think. I think that you've crossed a line. And I'm fairly sure, actually, that in Number 10 and the people around Keir Starmer, they'll be shaking their head, I think, at what David Lammy has said. He's just kind of gone off the reservation a little bit with that one. I mean, apart from anything else, where's his evidence that Nigel Farage flirted with the Hitler Youth? And in a way, you are almost playing into Nigel Farage's hands. As you said, Nigel Farage has just come out after Keir Starmer's speech, which I actually thought was actually the best speech he's given as Labour leader. And, he's accused Keir Starmer of inciting violence and putting his activists at risk. And then David Lammy pops up and compares Nigel Farage, says Nigel Farage flirted with the Hitler Youth as a young man. I mean, as I say, it almost plays into Nigel Farage's hands, and it takes the attention away from what was in Keir Starmer's speech.
Now, following this, you can clearly see that David Lammy got a bollocking and has now walked back on comments saying Nigel Farage flirted with the Hitler Youth when he was younger. This is him on BBC News, backtracking on this statement.
You made.
He has denied it. And so I accept that he has denied it, and I would like to clarify that position because in the end, the Prime Minister was keen for us to focus on the policies, not the individual.
Let's talk about one of the Labour...
So yeah, coming out and saying those kind of comments, and that's what David Lammy was trying to do. But we're seeing what the Labour Party have resulted to. This is desperation. This reeks of desperation and is going too far, where in fact they're actually creating lies about certain individuals within the Labour, within Reform. Now this is desperation. We've heard Nigel Farage's comments afterwards, but let's go over to X and see some of this reaction. A lot of people are not taking this very well over there on social media, calling for the resignation of David Lammy. So yeah, let's have a little look as on X. As you can see, David Lammy. This video is absolutely everywhere, and you're seeing here, look how fast he backtracks after accusing Nigel Farage of flirting with Hitler Youth. David Lammy is supposed to be Deputy Prime Minister. He lied. This was deeply irresponsible. This man is a disgrace and should resign. Patrick Christie says, I think David Lammy is happy to incite violence against Nigel Farage. There are plenty of people out there who feel that violent actions is justified if someone is a Hitler fanatic, which Farage is not. David Lammy knows what he's doing there. It's very dangerous rhetoric, as Patrick is saying. This can indeed incite people towards violence. You've got people in power, the Deputy Prime Minister, saying that they are, sympathizers towards Hitler, essentially, and someone that was a part of a Hitler Youth, which was a scheme for young boys all the way back in the day, that disbanded in 1945, and Nigel Farage was born in 1964. Deliberate misinformation and trying to make up bullshit. It's really, really bad. As you can see here, some more again from more political commentators. This isn't just a smear, it's historical illiteracy of the highest order. If this is the caliber of Labour's top brass, no wonder why the country is in chaos. This individual here says David Lammy's Hitler comments on Farage are utterly disgusting and he should resign. Just a reminder that Hitler Youth seized before Nigel Farage was even born. Your ignorance is astounding. The point is, they can go around and call him an oil salesman and all these kind of things. It's fine. I think he's got tough skin. And to be fair, Nigel Farage gives it. Nigel Farage should be able to take it back, you know. But I see this clear misinformation being spread is very, very dangerous rhetoric to be pushing, especially to people on the left side of politics. We've seen what can come of this sort of stuff. We've seen in the following of Charlie Kirk, and misinformation with regard to his sort of content, where that can lead to people to say things. People saying with regard to Charlie Kirk that he was a far right racist, which was absolute bullshit. He was very conservative. He was conservative as they came, had very sort of middle of the ground thoughts. But the way that his persona was perceived, where people actually had never watched his content, got to dangerous levels where people actually thought that this guy was a neo-Nazi to a certain extent. And people like the Deputy Prime Minister saying things with regard to Adolf Hitler, they know exactly what they're doing with that. And again, pushing misinformation, which is extremely, extremely dangerous. Labour, David Lammy accused Nigel Farage of flirting with Hitler Youth. Lammy now must be interviewed by police for potential hate speech. This is the level to which Labour has sunk. It's absolutely everywhere. David Lammy is all over social media right now, and again, a lot of people are very much disgraced with his wordings. This is becoming unhinged for Labour MPs now. The Deputy Prime Minister, David Lammy, is serious. I can't believe we're saying Deputy Prime Minister with regard to David Lammy. Absolute mental times that we're living in. Is seriously saying that Nigel Farage once flirted with Hitler Youth when he was younger. The narrative is out of the 2016 Remain campaign playbook, and look how that worked out. Again, we're seeing it absolutely everywhere. The ludicrous fool David Lammy showcasing his impressive knowledge of history by declaring on TV that Nigel Farage flirted with the Hitler Youth. The Hitler Youth ceased to exist in 1945. Farage was born in 1964. Come on, Lammy, don't be so pathetic. Nicholas says Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy has outrageously claimed that Nigel Farage flirted with Hitler Youth. This follows Keir Starmer's declaration that he is the enemy. Labour's rhetoric is inflammatory and toxic, and the implications are profoundly disturbing for Britain. Let's face it, I wouldn't trust David Lammy to know when the Hitler Youth was around based on his performance in Mastermind. From Keir Starmer berating millions of Brits as racist, to David Lammy babbling nonsense about Hitler Youth, Labour are panicking. This Project Fear 2.0, the same strategy the left used across the West, because it has no answers to people's legitimate concerns. That's facts there, Matt Goodwin. I really like those comments. Him coming out to be forced there, I think that even Labour inside were like, yeah, this guy's went way too far with these comments, and was definitely pushed out there to put a little bit of an apology into place. Martin says, oh my God, he went there. David Lammy says, Nigel Farage flirted with Hitler Youth when he was younger. Is this really the politics of unity, not division, Labour talks about? Not only is David Lammy's position as Deputy Prime Minister simply untenable, he ought to be arrested for hate speech and incitement. Merseyside Police. Well, in the United Kingdom, we've seen things happen for far less. And especially the time and age that we're living in, expressing misinformation such as that with regard to Hitler is absolutely disgusting. And you've got a picture of Nigel Farage and the cadets at age 18 by the looks of things. So, yeah. David Lammy has torpedoed Starmer's speech, dragging the news cycle away from accusing Nigel Farage flirt with Hitler Youth. He single-handedly undone the PM's message of unity. Total shit show. I mean, I didn't think his speech was good at all in terms of Keir Starmer's whatsoever. But to say that, yeah, but to have him there, of course, nuke them entirely, just single-handedly, it just goes to show what he's all about. But yeah, Labour are completely falling apart in real time, and yeah, they're running out of the answers for this country's issues. I'm interested to see what people's thoughts and opinions are down there in the live chat. I'm going to go over to the live chat quickly now, but do let me know your thoughts on David Lammy's comments with regard to Nigel Farage, and do let me know your thoughts entirely actually on what has gone on with regard to the Labour conference, their obsession with reform, and is anything going to come of this for the Labour Party? They are grasping, they're desperate for anything. Oh my God, the buffoon of buffoon, he absolutely is. Tina says, that was no apology. He meant what he said. Hate crime. No, but he backtracked, of course. He came out there, well, he said he didn't say it, so I'm going to stand on the line of that he didn't. He knew what he was doing. But we're seeing it far too much. And I understand that politics and playing politics is at play. But creating fake news and actually spreading misinformation to people is really, really, really dangerous. You can't be saying that Nigel Farage is getting into bed with Vladimir Putin. It's simply not true. You can't be saying that Reform's policies are racist and that Reform's policies were simply about deporting every single migrant. That was the mantra that they were trying to push in the Labour conference. They've never once said that. They said that they're going to deport all illegal migrants. You need to put the key word illegal migrants. They're sort of making out, the way that I was listening to that Labour conference, was that if you they use the Chinese takeaway as an example, that a lady works at a Chinese takeaway and all of a sudden she's chucked out as soon as Reform come into power. Absolutely not that, and that isn't going to be the case. That was never a policy that was put into play by the Reform Party. It's clear misinformation and it's very, very dangerous rhetoric, but this goes very, very far. Get this idiot out now, says Paul Rivas. It will be a hate crime in Labour's eyes if Lammy gets charged. He's absolutely bonkers. Machko says, it's bad they're grasping at straws, but maybe if they pulled their heads out of their arse and went to talk to the people of the UK and listened, they wouldn't be so clueless. Yeah, they're certainly on the defensive. They've been on the defensive since they came into power, actually, which is seriously, seriously frightening. But they've been on the defensive ever since they came into power, and now their only way forward is to bring down and try and bring down reform in what they're trying to do. He will cause people to attack Nigel. Lammy is a hateful mug, especially. That's all they needed. The left, the far radical left, that's all they need. Oh, he actually was. Some people won't see him backtracking in his comments. They were seeing those initial comments on BBC and, yeah, be like, oh, Nigel Farage is a Hitler lover. They're going to use that for the rest of time and he's going to be scapegoated with it. So, yeah, he knew what he was doing and he knows what they're trying to do. They're just trying to bring a person down, but they're using very, very dirty tactics in the way that they're going about it. Mark says, let's see Starmer get round this one. I mean, look, listen, he's he's came out there and said, spreading lies as well. Now, it's very important. I understand what parties do. And look, Nigel has some thick skin. Nigel gives it out. He can certainly take some stuff as well. But you got to be very careful with what happens when you're actually spreading lies out there into the universe. You can't just go out, say anything and make things up, especially under this socialist government that we currently live in, where, if you spread misinformation, this party wants you to be taken down. They were going around trying to remove X posts that didn't represent. I mean, there were people videoing things, so I don't know how they didn't understand it as true news, citizen journalism, but they wanted it removed as apparently it was misinformation. Now you've got the Deputy Prime Minister coming out there and spreading misinformation. But as the Labour's motto has always been, is do as I say, not as I do. We see the Deputy Prime Minister, who was obviously in charge of housing, she evaded stamp duty tax. We also see them do other things. Keir Starmer says one thing, does another. Now we're seeing David Lammy says one thing, does another. So they know what they're doing. They're trying to cause a massive problem. And David Lammy, of course, is getting a lot of heat. And I don't understand how this guy could get out of this, despite him only having 2 brain cells, which we've already known for a very long time. But I don't see how he gets out of this one. It's absolutely disgusting and it's absolutely abhorrent. But guys, I'm not going to keep you any longer. Do let me know your thoughts in the comment section below with regard to David Lammy's comments, and let me know your thoughts on the Labour conference in general. But thanks